So hi everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Easton Community Book Chat. And I'm super happy to welcome our guest, which is the principal of Samuel Staples Elementary School, Kimberly Fox Santora. Welcome, thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Great. Can you give us a quick update on online schooling and how's that going?
I think it's going as well as it can go. All of us as educators, we didn't really have a course in college about how do you teach distance learning, but I have to say the teachers really embraced it. They locked arms, jumped in, did a lot of reading, have had a lot of training on different kinds of digital tools. I think they've done a great job. I think because they're working as a collaborative team in a way that they really never fully enjoyed in the school, I think they figured out an awful lot about digital tools and how it can be a powerful opportunity for learning. So I think it's going well. I think parents are feeling better. I think the first 2.5 weeks were a little rocky. I think everyone had to figure out a schedule that fit for them because for many, they're still working from home and helping their kids. Elementary kids need a lot more support than middle and high schoolers do. So I have to say, I am cautiously optimistic that our kids are doing quite well.
Yeah, I think it's going really well. And I wanted to just say a thank you to you and all the teachers and all the staff for all the work you're doing, because I know it's a ton of work and we so appreciate it.
Thanks, Christine. I'll extend that to the faculty.
Great. So let's talk about your book choice, which is Educated. And we don't have the book right now because it's all checked out at the library. I'm trying to show you a picture here. Anyway, it didn't come out great, but it's Educated by Tara Westover, and it's a memoir. So tell us a little bit about it.
It's a nonfiction book. So I tend to pick books that are really outside my world. And this was so far outside my world. Tara Westover grew up in Idaho with a family that were a certain sect of Mormonism called fundamentalists. And she lived with, I think there were 7 siblings with a mom and a dad. Family's really important. And they lived on a mountain called Buck's Peak. And the father felt very, very strongly that the government was out to get them. Tara was born in the late 80s, and it was around that time, I don't know if you remember the issue at Ruby Ridge in Idaho.
Yes.
The whole misunderstanding about what this guy was doing, but the stories are similar. And Tara's father was very influenced by what happened to Mr. Weaver, who lived on a hill, on a mountain. And he felt that the feds were out to get him. He felt that the public school system brainwashed children. So he had these 7 kids, and his wife was the teacher for the children. But they didn't teach the kids about history and math in the way we have all enjoyed. It's largely the teachings were from the Bible and obviously the Book of Mormons. And it wasn't until Tara was about 17 years old did she realize through one of the brothers that not everybody in the world learned in the way that she did. The father talked an awful lot about Satan, and there was a fear that he had that Satan was shrewd and that he plays with your mind. And he kept his family as close as he could on this mountain called Buck's Peak. I think he did scrap metal or something to that regard, and didn't believe in doctors. So mom, for the most part, felt that herbs and essential oils were the cure-all for any kind of afflictions that she, her husband, or her kids had. And one of the sons, who was very different than the other six, started finding books and doing some reading and saw perspective. And this issue of Ruby Ridge started coming up because she and her brother were really young. They didn't understand a lot about it, but they knew about some guy named Weaver. That name Weaver kept coming up in the household. Even though they didn't have a full understanding of the story, they knew that whatever happened on Ruby Ridge was a powerful part of why they were so tied to that mountain. So the older brother ended up leaving this brother who started reading books that were not the Bible, and talked with his sister a little bit about some things that he had learned, and sort of inspired in Tara that she too might want to pursue education. And so she sort of followed the same kind of path. He encouraged her to do this reading and then to take the ACT. And to do that, if she scored high enough, she could get into Brigham Young University in Utah. Because they're Mormons, if they maintain a certain GPA, the Mormon church will give you scholarship and pay your way, but you have to maintain this certain grade point average. And Tara did. Although her mom and dad did not support this kind of education, they allowed her to go. And there were all sorts of really powerful things that had happened to all of the siblings, including her mother, who sustained a really bad brain injury from a car accident. She started to recognize that some of these very powerful things needed a doctor's intervention, and the father wouldn't allow it. So her story is about this slow discovery of things that happened in history. And she started researching Ruby Ridge, and she started seeing the parallels. And in doing that, she started pursuing her own education. And professors at BYU recognized her intelligence and encouraged her to go to Cambridge, England, study at the University of Cambridge. And the story showed the power of the family against the power within herself, and that she had to discover for herself the value of education. And she ended up between Brigham Young and Harvard and the University of Cambridge. This woman earned a PhD. And each time she returned to Bucks Peak to see her family, she began to recognize in her father this paranoia, might very well be a condition called bipolar, and the depressions that he would go through. And she tried to inform her mom, and instead her essential oils and her herbs became a business. They ended up building a church in their house. And while they got deeper into that fundamentalism of the Mormon religion, and she started becoming more informed about the rest of the world, she ended up becoming estranged from her family. It was such a powerful journey, and something, I read it a while ago, that I think about all the time. Just the power of will, of what you want for yourself. And if you're determined enough and you start questioning enough, that you can in fact achieve whatever it is you set out to achieve.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. And I think it's really hit quite a nerve for a lot of people, because it's been on the New York Times bestseller list for 113 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. So it has definitely, captured a lot of hearts and minds, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I encourage people to read it. First of all, she's a brilliant writer. Her writing is captivating, I think. But her stories and the things that she sustained, and that her brothers and sister and mom stay so connected in spite of the fact that their daughter and this older brother who I shared earlier, those are the only two who moved away from that sect. And they would rather, given that family is such a big part of the Mormon religion, that two members of their family pulled away, they would rather sever it than risk having Satan do something to their family.
Mm-hmm.
It's really very interesting.
Yeah.
I encourage people to read it.
Oh, yeah. It's a fantastic story. What do you think you learned from the book?
The power of family was very strong. But I also think the power of knowledge and how the two at times can conflict. You know, it could be something as superficial. You know, I buy the things in the grocery store that my mom bought. I don't know why. But if my mother bought Land O'Lakes butter, I too bought Land O'Lakes butter.
Yeah.
I remember my mom and dad's view of politics and how I changed and how my views of politics changed. But there's a thread, right? We still connect as we're a family, but there's a respect. And I saw in this story how the two conflicted, and she couldn't find a bridge between what she learned and what she values and believes in with what the family does. It was just too strong. So I think I learned a lot about, you know, family and building bridges.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It also opened a lot of doors for me. You know, I didn't remember Ruby Bridge all that well. I remember, I think I was in college. I think I remember Ruby Ridge is sort of what was going on in my college years. And I was too busy having fun in college to really appreciate it. And I also didn't know much about Mormonism. So for as these chapters, I remember spending some of my free time sort of reading a little bit more about it because I didn't know.
Yeah, that's a great reading experience, right? That it just captivates you and then propels you sort of forward to learn more. That's amazing. That's quite a testament to that book, I think. What kind of books do you like to read?
I'm all over the map. I read a lot of biographies. I've read a lot of sort of things that are going on currently in politics. I read a lot about that right now. I often also read a lot of the New York Times bestsellers. I read all of Malcolm Gladwell's books. He fascinates me. Every once in a while, I'll read a trashy novel.
It's all good.
It is all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. It's all good. Well, that's amazing. So I just want to let everybody know that Educated is available from the Easton Library as a downloadable audio book or ebook. And you can just go on our website, which is eastonlibrary.org. And there's a search the catalog button, and you can find it in there and read it while you're, snug and safe at home. And so I just want to say thank you so much to Kimberly Fox Santora for joining us at the Easton Library Community Book Chat. And I'm Christine Ullman, and we'll see you again. So thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Enjoy, everybody.